Hello and welcome. Before we get started, I happen to have enough motivation and time today to record, build, and prep a car for BeamNG. All of that means the car in this video will be on the BeamNG repository. I hope you enjoy the car, as I once again put effort into adjusting its settings in game to handle extremely well in BeamNG. Now on to the build. As you can tell by now, this is the Ocelot F620 from Grand Theft Auto. What I have planned for it is to completely change it from a Grand Tourer to a full-blown race car. There is much work to be done, as I intend to do away with the low-poly interior and add my own into it. In this video, I'll also show the engine build process. Now, let's get into the engine build portion of the video. Here are some notes on the engine. When building, I loosely based it off of the GM LFX found in the second-generation Cadillac sedans. Ultimately, I ended up going twin turbocharger for the nice bump in HP, as this car as a whole is meant to be fast with a nice and easy power curve and a high revving top end to further help with the stability of the car. While I don't like overly high horsepower builds, I wanted to at least surpass 650, as I felt like that was a great blend of not being too fast or too slow. Since this is an engine being made for tiered racing, this will set the benchmark for all other engines in its class to use. After all, this is supposed to be the mid-tier class in a soon-to-be-announced league I want to host on my Discord. When it came to transforming this car into a race car, I first wanted to remove everything that way either to low poly or that would generally have no use in an actual race car. As you can see, once I'm done, what's left is a mere empty shell. I figure this is also a good time to mention that I will be using all mods that I have at my disposal to get this build done, so there will be many fixtures that aren't available in the workshop. I do have a mod section in my Discord, and I'm slowly releasing these private mods out to members of the community. So please feel free to join and inquire about the mods in my Discord channel. Have had comments in the past telling me that I've built an engine wrong visually, and I'm sure some of you in the comments will also point out that I'm using Nissan's VQ engine, even though the engine I built was based on a GM. To answer that question, this is again based in imagination. So let's just say it's a GM V6 instead of a Nissan V6, okay? Sorry for the slight jump cut. I realized that I wasn't recording so I had to start a small section over. Thankfully, I caught it early and didn't lose too much progress, and having the video off momentarily allowed me to look at some of my other builds to get ideas from them. So earlier in the video I talked and showed myself building the twin-turbo V6 engine that would be used for multiple cars in this class. Well, after some thought, I figured the engine made too much power and it would be too close to the top class in the series, so I went back and changed the engine to a twin-turbo straight 6. The resulting engine swap now makes 436 horsepower and 369 foot-pounds of torque, which in turn makes me happy. As for the classes, I'll quickly go over them now. Class 1 will feature naturally aspirated V8 engines, making close to 700 horsepower. Class 2 now is limited to the twin-turbo straight 6, while Class 3 will make use of single-turbo straight 4 engines that make about 300 or so horsepower. All three classes will have a good selection of cars in them, with each class having different driving characteristics. Class 1 is focused on raw speed and driver skill with minimal aero. Class 2 is the mid-range class that uses aggressive aero. This is probably what caused the video to run for so long. During the build, I was very indecisive on how I wanted it to look, and I started throwing fixtures at the car to see what would look good and what didn't. While not all bad, it did take up a lot of time, and as you'll see, a lot of the original fixtures I placed started to act more like placeholders, so the actual parts that would permanently go on the car. From the rear bumper not looking exactly how I wanted it to be, along with the rear wing not looking quite right to me, and a few more fixtures were removed down the line to make way for better fixture options. second jump cut was added on purpose. This time I paused the video since I couldn't figure out how I wanted the front bumper to look like. I took some time to take care of stuff IRL before I came back to the build and finish up where I left off. At that point I was slightly frustrated since of this build, but wanted to see it to completion. I'm happy with how it turned out though, and even more so that this build is completed. Finally onto the color. This also marked the end of the exterior build too. Next up is finishing the interior and adding any final touches the whole build. Out of the way for the upcoming racing league. I hope it brings in some good competition for the channel. Now back to the build. In hindsight, there are multiple things that I forgot to add in or do, and while it may not be a massive deal, it is something that sticks out to me. So I'll be releasing a high-definition version on my Discord that will be completed the way I think it should have been originally. For more information, join the Discord. Finally, the build itself, I decided again that I'd just remove the VQ engine fixture and transmission and use the vanilla engine in its place. I think at this time of the build, I was more concerned about getting on to completing the rear so that I could start tuning it along with setting it up with moving props and custom sounds for BeamNG. As with the exterior, the interior is devoid of any real detail, as I wanted to focus on the driving aspect in game over how it looked. The next car I build, I will. Definitely make sure to add the details the first time around to avoid having to make multiple copies of the same thing. It's just something that makes the whole thing easy to deal with, especially since I may forget about something over time. And here it is, from commuter luxury car to full-blown race car that's now ready to tackle a multitude of circuits in BeamNG. The GPL Class 2 F620 will be an all-around solid choice when racing in Class 2. But until then, I hope you enjoyed the video and stay tuned for more.